Welcome back. I love this episode. I really do. Something's different, and I explain it in this podcast. This is one of those podcasts where I go stream of consciousness again, and as it starts out, I urge you to power through it, because it'll start picking up, and I start to get in like a flow state, talking about how I had a bit of a really radical shift in mentality recently, but I basically got my swagger back. I got my mojo back. And if you want to hear about that, and I talk about hormones and vitality, and I talk about crying and women's issues, and I talk about it all, but I really sum it up at the end with hopefully a fire up, hopefully something that can help you get through what is the most lockdown country in the world at the moment. So enjoy, settle in, and I'll see you on the other side. No.
I'm almost famous. Chill out, mom, I'm doing it my own way. I'm almost famous. I'll freak off, dad, I'll make my money someday.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Yeah, I am looking slightly bigger. Thanks for noticing. I worked out once today, so it's really paying off. Oh, what's that behind me? It's a new banner. Yeah. For the podcast that I'm doing right now that you're listening to or watching. Yeah, it's not a big deal. We actually have a banner also directly across me that says the band name. And then on the floor in front of me, we got more banners. This one, which I'm putting up in front of the camera, Uno Momento. See that bitch? See that? That's the lead singer of Sticky Fingers, aka my idol, aka I don't know if I can say that, because I think everyone loves them. I know in Australia, so Sticky Fingers is my favorite band. They got in trouble in Australia. I don't even know for what, because I'm not Australian. I don't listen to their news media, but I think they got in trouble for like their past of just like rocking out. And I think maybe they mistreated some women or said some stuff. I don't actually know, but I love their music. And he looks like one of the best concerts I've ever been to. All my friends that went with me there, like, it's magic. These guys are magic. Anyway, so I got a poster of them, and I got to give a shout out to Olivia Di Clavasio. She really is our like, she's our little like house girlfriend. It's weird to explain, but we live in a house with 3 boys, and Kevin also has a girlfriend. Robbie, Kevin's one of our roommates. Robbie is my bandmate. His girlfriend Liv actually like pretty much lives here. So she had her own place. She had her condo, but in COVID, I guess they sold it and she just moved home. But what that means is she lives here. And, I mean, she like, it's fucking awesome. It's awesome having like a house GF, you know. She's the one that she dyes my hair whenever I need it, trims it up. She gave us, out of the blue, $400 just for being proud of us going to the studio all the time. And then she bought us these banners. Like, what the fuck? I don't deserve this. I don't deserve gifts. She says that it's her portion of rent, which is funny, but yeah, it's really nice of her. And so we're sporting it on the first podcast. Okay. I might have got sidetracked already because you know what? I would have said it in the intro. So I want to say, and if you're noticing the mustache, I had to shave my face for an audition tomorrow, and I stopped at mustache. I've had mustaches before, so it ain't no thing, but with the blonde hair and like the blonde hair getting long, I don't know. Like it seems like it's pushing it a little bit. Like I don't mind like having the long hair, being a little bit eccentric, like looking cool, being a rocker. But I don't know. Like if you're looking in the video, it looks, yeah, maybe it looks good. I don't know. But the girl I'm seeing right now, she's like, oh, mustache, like mustache, please, like get that mustache. She's also like, I guess that's just her thing, whatever. And like girls got different tastes in guys, but it made me think back through like my different relationships and girls I've dated. And fuck if I can remember a time when they were ever into the current hair face style I was rocking at the time. You know, like, is it just like a girl thing to like romanticize a different version of the guy? Or like, I could just be tripping. You know, it could just be one of those things like selective memory. Like you only really remember when someone's like, oh, I liked it better when you had this or that. But like, I feel like, because I changed my hair a lot. It's just, I don't have like I don't think I've had the same hairstyle for more than a couple years. And even when I say same hairstyle for a couple years, that's probably because I was growing my hair out. So I had long hair for like a couple years because it took me a while. It takes years to grow out. So you kind of have to rock with one hairstyle. But like, yeah, I will usually I'll do something different. I accidentally stumbled on the shaved sides trend before that blew up. Man, I've had a history of hair stuff. I just like trying new things. It's the same reason why I pierced my ears when I got to college. I'm not like a thug, like GTA, like wigger white boy, with like diamond earrings. But my roommate was like, pierce your ears, and I was like, I'm in college. I do what I want. Yeah, I pierced one. Didn't look as cool as I thought. So instead of taking it out, I said pierce the other, like even it out. And that was a blast. I had a fucking blast. Big stud earrings. And then same roommate, I got to preface it, like he was, he kind of had like, he was a Persian guy, but he kind of liked the, you know, like black barbershop style, you know, like fades and like all that stuff in the stud earrings. So he took me to like a black barbershop, and I went in there, and I didn't know any of that was. Like my last haircut, I told the barber to take a little off the top, like fucking Tony up the street from me. And I go into like my first time in like a black barbershop, and the guy's like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know, could I just get a little bit off the top? And the guy's like, I don't even have scissors, dude. He's like, would you want to fade? Do you want to, like, it was like primarily for like lining up hair and like fading it out. And it was like clippers only. So I was like, I talked about this in the first episode of the podcast I did, I think 3 years ago, but I basically had a vision. It was my first haircut away from home. And I had a vision right there in the chair. I was like, whoa, I could literally do whatever. I was like, I'm not going home. I'm going back to a dorm room. Like, I'm not reporting to anybody. I can get whatever I want. I looked the guy in the eye, and I was like, what's the wildest haircut you got? And he said mohawk, and I got a mohawk. And I for a period in first year, I had a mohawk and earrings. And like ever since then, it's been a bunch of, so yeah, like I went from the mohawk, which was shaved sides, to my next cut, which was like the shaved side Euro thing. This was before anyone was doing it. It was just more of like a modification of a mohawk, but I just had them like trim the mohawk down. And, but like the problem is like it stood up like 4 inches, like straight up. It wasn't that dope. And then I started seeing like these Euro people started styling it like that. Then I started growing my hair and wearing the hairband because man buns were coming into style. So I on the Euro train, I was growing my hair out. I'd wear like the hair, like the Euro soccer hairband. Then I grew my hair into a man bun. Then I buzzed it off in COVID. I went short for a little bit. I hadn't really had like short hair ever in my life. So I went like short, like professional hair for a little bit. Then I grew my hair all the way long again. Then I shaved it off in COVID. Then I dyed it blonde, and then I grew it out again. So it's just like changing. And I'll rock a beard sometimes. I'll rock a mustache sometimes. But like, if you go to my Instagram and you do every scroll, it's a different hair period. It's like a different period of my look. I guess I don't take enough photos, but it's weird because I like the girl who I'm currently seeing, she's like, you look different in every photo. Like no two photos are the same because either my hair's growing like 6 photos back and I've shaved, or maybe not 6, 8 photos back and I've shaved brown hair. Anyway, it's fucked. But she was like, I liked you better when you had this hair and this, like they all look, they go pick the phase that they like the best, and it's never my current phase. But the thing is then when I get in the future and somebody else will like this phase, but not, they only like they like the fucking idea of it. All right. I'm no stranger. I know that sometimes I rock hairstyles and styles that aren't like the most, like the best version of myself. And pretty much every girl I've ever dated, like that's commented on it, I'm like, listen, like I know I look better with X hair, or like, yeah, I know, but like that's not always why you do a hairstyle. Like, I play in a rock band, I want long blonde hair, and like, I'm gonna do it, you know? Like you can see through it all if you, you know, if anybody's just flat out just like, I mean, if any girl out there was like, oh, I was gonna marry this guy and then his hair is blonde now, like that's temporary, it's changeable. Like, come on. But yeah, that was just a little tidbit. Did I get sidetracked again? Fucking A, buddy, I did. But anyway, yeah, the mustache, shaving it tomorrow. It's a little temporary glint. I might grow it back. Let me know if you like it. But yeah, I've been off the podcast for a bit, and again, it's one of those just like, I don't have a reason for it. I just wasn't inspired. But a major like shift happened for me recently, and it kind of made me I was like looking, I'll tell you what, and I'm going to give some shout outs to some people here, and it's probably going to go terribly, but I was talking to Mike Mandela, and I talked to Mike Mandela a lot because I game with him, and gaming has been like probably my major pastime while being locked in a fucking house. And I don't know, like I've given him shout outs on recent episodes, and what it is his sister is like one of my best friends growing up, and like we lived together last year, so I know him through her, but then him and I became really close through video games. And I didn't really realize that he listened to the podcast. I knew maybe because he'd been on it once, that I knew he was aware of it and maybe listened to an episode or two, but I didn't really realize that like he listened. And he was just, I don't know, because when you're playing video games for like hours on end, you talk about shit, and like it's like the same as anything else. Like you're asking about life or whatever. You talk about everything. And I don't know how it came up, but he basically said that he was out with a buddy, Jack Kamen, Kamo, and they were talking about the podcast, and they were saying like, I mean, he was saying some like super nice things. He was saying that they were talking about how, you know, they love the podcast, how you know, they were saying that they think I'm a guy who like who's going to be successful, who's going to get somewhere, and anyway, he was saying a bunch of nice stuff and just kind of regurgitating. I also think it's super special when you say nice things about somebody and like you pass it along, because a lot of times like people tell me nice things about people and I try to pass it along, but I think a lot of times people don't, or they forget to, or they don't think it's like, but it really, man, like it really, I fucking needed it. Like, I needed to hear that. And I got to give a shout out to Kamo, because man, that guy he's been supporting the band and the pod for like a long time. And in this last year where I've been thinking about the meaning of the pod, and I've forgotten like why even do it or what the value of it is, and just to hear that like recently that's still being said and stuff like that, it kind of just shook my head clear. And Mike was saying like he understands, because I don't get any feedback, at least not in COVID, because I used to get all my feedback socially. So I'd go out in public and somebody go, man, I like that song, or man, I like your pod. And like, I haven't gotten any of that. So you get the odd message from a close friend saying like, keep it up, it's going to be okay. And it's like when your mom encourages you, you know what I mean? Like, they're your friend, they care about you, and they're saying it, and they're truthful, and your mom truly believes it too. But like, they're biased, and you kind of convince yourself like, oh, like they're just like they just like all those things, they just care about you, whatever. But then the thing about Kamo is like, we're buds from school, but like, we don't like call each other to chill. We see each other socially and stuff like that. He really like, he has no obligation, or he wouldn't say that shit unless he means it, especially when like I'm not around and like two buds are talking, and just like to hear that, it just like smacked my head out of it. And I was like, man, yeah, like if even one fucking person likes this podcast, like it's worth doing. It's worth putting out. And I was listening to my friend Kristen's podcast. So Mike Mandela's sister has a podcast, and she just started it. And like, it's rudimentary, and it's even kind of off brand of what I would normally listen to. It's two girls kind of like talking about their experiences growing up. And one of the podcasts was like our loving our bodies, and our struggles with body hair. And like, trust me, like if they weren't my friends, I would never click on that podcast, because I'm like, the fuck am I going to listen to that for? But because they're my friends, obviously I'm going to listen to their podcast, and I fucking love it. And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, you think, and like, I don't know if they know that I mean, obviously I'll give them, they listen, Kristen may listen to this and may hear this, but there is a value, even though I may not necessarily be interested in body hair, female body hair, not one of my, in fact, the less of it, the better, who's with me on that. It's like, I may not be interested in that topic, but because the person is interesting and their co-host is interesting, and just their perspectives in general are funny and interesting, you can listen to it. And it took a weight off my shoulders, being like, because my struggle is I haven't been inspired. I haven't had many guests on, and guests are what interest me, and like new perspectives are what interest me. But I forget sometimes that maybe just without all that, even though I may not feel like I have inspiring topics or like inspiration to throw out, I forget that just because I hear myself all the time, and I throw all this stuff at myself, and I may not be interested in myself, that it still may be interesting to someone. And Mike was saying that he enjoys it, and that it fires him up, and it gives him some stuff. And I mean, I think if I have anything on this planet, I have a little bit of that fire. I don't know what it is. It's like an internal, it's a positivity. I think if anything, it's like an optimism and a positivity, and it could be delusion. And if just putting it out in a podcast gives someone else just that, like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to go on a huge tangent. I just wanted to say thank you to Mike for bringing that up. Thank you to Kamo for having that chat with him. And I know it's not just him, because as much as I say there's no feedback, I see the numbers, And it's easy to get wrapped up in growth and like success and why isn't my podcast exploding or growing? But it makes you forget that there's a couple hundred people that listen to this. And if there was a couple hundred people in a room, like a gym, and I was talking like this to that would be like really important. You know, like that's probably bigger than any concert I've played. I'm trying to think. I mean, around the same feeling, and I give like tremendous importance to those. Holy shit! I just chugged a proteiner. I give like tremendous importance to that, and it's just weird. The internet does these things to you, and being in isolation makes you forget these things, which is the topic of this podcast, because something happened to me within the last couple weeks, and it's really strange, but I kind of got my swagger back, and I don't know how to explain it, but it made it weird for me to listen back to the previous pods, especially like to listen back through COVID. And I did my last episode, I don't even know how many weeks ago, because like, again, I just haven't put this podcast in the front seat. And a buddy of mine reached out and was like, hey man, just want to make sure everything's good. And, just like I heard the pod, just want to make sure everything's good. And so like I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Everything wasn't good. So I did appreciate him reaching out. Like in COVID, I've been the first person to admit that everything's not been good. I've probably been the closest to the worst version of myself. And the worst part about it all is I just didn't understand it. And I fought it. I fought it with just discipline. I couldn't get a hold of my mentality. So I was like, and my mentality has been one of my strongest assets. Like I said, my positivity, my whatever. And I just couldn't get a hold of that. So I said, fuck it. If you can't get a hold of your mentality, you just got to do the work anyway. Like discipline became my savior, became like my doctrine. I just worked hard and I didn't ask questions and I didn't care whether I liked it or not. And I just trudged forward. And it's tough because, you start to, when you do discipline like that, you start to like, I don't know. I was just like drinking more. I wanted to smoke cigarettes or nicotine or whatever, like things that aren't really me. And because you're unhappy, because you don't know why you're working so hard. And you, as much as discipline and focus is the answer, and it gets you through these hard times, it's really like, that's what it's there for. It's the life raft. But as I said, when I first discovered that discipline was going to be my life raft, like you can't live on that life raft forever. And as soon that life raft's going to be like tattered and it's going to like be a shitty life raft, and you got to get to shore. You got to get somewhere where you can, like know why you're doing things and stuff like that. And that's what I couldn't figure out in COVID, but discipline like really helped me. Like it saved me. Like it got me out of my funk where like, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. And just like hearing my words in those past episodes, the way I'm like talking and questioning things, it doesn't even sound like me. I didn't even recognize it. So a big part of that is obviously COVID and just being locked away. I think it's probably damaged more people's life than the actual disease did. And I'm not trying to say that to be controversial, or the virus, but especially if you're the healthy range, obviously if you're an elderly person locked away from family and stuff, I couldn't imagine. I bet you death might be a sweeter escape than pure isolation. But humans are weird. The change that happened to me was a couple weeks ago. Robbie and I have been working on getting music out for the last, basically since Christmas. We had a handful of songs, and since Christmas, the process has been refining the songs, finish writing them, practicing them with the band, booking the studio, working around COVID restrictions. And we got 3 songs like pretty much done, as well as we shot the music video a couple weeks ago on a weekend. And I leading up to that music video, you know, discipline, as I said, was a life raft. It helped me like get back to just a semblance of routine and normalcy, where I was like kind of feeling a little bit more self-esteem, but still like didn't really have my old fire back. And that's why I'd still struggle. I wasn't really working out. I was chain smoking organic hand-rolled cigarettes, which is not me. Like, at least in if you look at my entire life, I'm not an addictive person. I never have been. I'm able to play with fire and shun it aside. But in like the last 2-3 years, the first thing I ever got addicted to was nicotine with the Juul. And I'll talk about this because I think the Juul actually had a big role in kind of my mental demise over the last couple of years. But yeah, like, so in the grand scheme of my life, at 25 or 26, I started smoking nicotine, probably because I was unhappy and like looking for a buzz, because who knows? And it obviously just took root, became like a soother for my anxiety. And then when I threw the Juul away, I was like, I'll just have a couple cigarettes, and you know, that was fine. I can do that. But then when I'd really feel anxious, like in the dark parts of COVID, I'd just rip a bunch of them. And as someone who like really loves health in the long term, it's just a really weird self-sabotagey thing to do. So I do this music video, and I gave shouts out to Rob on the last podcast, because Rob was like kind of like really the champion of getting these songs recorded, getting the music video organized. Like, he took the captain seat and was like, don't worry, dude, I got you. Like, just do what you're good at, make the music, you know, do all the stuff, sing and do all the stuff you're good at. He's like, I got this. He's like, I'm making up for past years when the roles were reversed. And so I just kind of felt like a passenger, but the music was going really well. And I get to the music video shoot, and we're performing because it's a live music video. So we have in-ear monitors, we have a sound tech, we have mics on all the drums and the whatever, and I'm singing into a microphone. We have a few of our friends there watching. We have a bit of a crew in the room, and I'm performing again. You know, like I'm singing, I'm playing with the band, not just in a room. I'm performing in front of the camera, and I'm feeling something that I used to feel a lot, like when I would entertain, when I would do shows, or even just be in public. And I felt the fucking, like, the spark of like life. I don't know how to explain it, but it's something that I hadn't felt in a long time. Even like, you know, I did everything still in COVID. Like, I saw my family, I went jet skiing and snowmobiling, and I would get tastes of that adrenaline hit, but it felt more like a soother than like an inspiration, you know. Even, and I would love to talk to like my ex-girlfriend that I dated during that time, and just like see what she saw through her eyes, because I was just such a different person. But even like through that relationship, like I was just disassociated. And I did this thing, and it's like I had kind of like an out of body experience, but it wasn't as tacky and cliche as like I saw myself in the third person. But I became fucking present, and I was like, wait a minute, you're like this again. Take this all with a grain of salt, because this is my positivity, and it comes out as cockiness and confidence. But like, as someone who's trying to become a rock star, either you have this or you fucking don't. But I'm there, and I'm singing, and I'm seeing the people's faces and reactions, and it's the same kind of reactions I used to get at shows and stuff. And especially during like my like vocal parts that were like, you know, sometimes we would just cut the instruments and I would sing the vocals just to make sure that we had clear takes in case there was bleed in the mics. And like my buddies and the people in the room were like, dude, like fucking yes. And I'm performing, I'm rocking, and I get that spark, and I get that out of body experience where I'm like I'm fucking good at this. Like, remember, dude? You forget. Like, same with the podcast. I'm like, this is like, there's a reason you're choosing to do this for a living. It's not because you want a fast car or fame and fortune. Those are great tools to achieve fun things in life, but you're good at it and you love it. And it's like my self-esteem came back in an instant, and it was confusing because I hadn't felt like that raw self-esteem in a while. I don't know. It's really hard to explain, and I don't know if I'm doing a good job. But I told Robbie after the shoot went well. The guys killed it. Everyone that was working, everyone in the band, and you know, I mean, maybe when we put the stuff out, we can do like a little bit of a band get together podcast. Everyone killed it, and we were leaving. A long day. I'm driving home with Robbie, and I'm like, man, something's different. I don't feel the same. And he's like, dope. He's like, that's sick. Get right back to it. And I was like, yeah, for sure. But I didn't really know what it was yet. So I get back home, and I spend like the next couple weeks, you know, I get that message, or, you know, Mike Mandela tells me that thing, and I'm feeling the voice in my head, the old voice of like, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you sitting around? Like, there's life to be lived. Like, I just kind of heard that voice, and I hadn't heard it in a long time. I didn't realize how much it had gone away, or just, anyway, I don't know the reasons for everything, but I'm hearing it. But I still am like anxious, and I'm still in my like kind of mid-level funk. So I listened to it. I'm like, yeah, like you're right. I kind of got to get back to it. But then I'd go fucking smoke a handful of cigarettes and get wrecked with the boys on the weekend. And then I come back and, you know, whatever, but kind of every day got a little stronger. And when we got the cuts back for the music video, and I'm seeing myself in the band, and we look like as real as a deal as it gets. Like any band I've ever seen, any band I've ever idolized, and I just like, fuck, it just hit me across the face. I'm like, I already am this. Like I'm here. Like my self-esteem, like the mental voice, kind of came back where I just like, I felt the, like, I don't want to say like alpha as in like alpha and beta male, but like that like killer, that winner, that like positive, like fuck you kind of guy, almost just like snapped back into my head. And this was on Thursday or Friday. I think it was Friday, like just before this weekend. It's now Wednesday, so a couple like only like 5-6 days ago. And I'm driving out of the city. I'm headed north to spend a Father's Day with the fam. And I just, you know, had the time in the car to think. And this guy, this voice in my head that was so familiar to me, the one that's been like my go-to like inner champion of like being a winner, is just back, man. And it's weird to say, it's going to sound like schizophrenic, but I'm like chatting with him, you know? It's more just like, it just, I don't know. It felt good to be back, and I felt a little bit more like manly and like testosterone-y. And it's funny because I'm mixing this in because as I'm driving north and I'm having that chat, I also have Kristen's podcast on talking about their experiences growing up with female body issues. And it's such a weird blend. This podcast is going to be such a weird blend of things because Maybe I can come back to it. I don't want to get too lost on that tangent, but so I'll take a break here and talk about it was a weird blend of, I'm feeling my mojo. This guy's back, and this guy is like, this inner voice is like, I'm the fucking shit. I'm big. I can do what I want. I'm an entertainer. Like, I can tackle anything. Kind of feel that coursing through your veins, like and I say manly because that's what it kind of felt like. Like I felt like I wanted to like fucking beat someone up, or just like just fuck something. You know what I mean? Like, it's really weird to say, but it seemed to be really attached. And I'll probably try to loop back around to why I think this is so interrelated and why it happened on Friday, because I think it's to do with hormones. And I was listening to Kristen's podcast, and they're talking about female body issues, and it was eye-opening. The way they talk about loving their bodies seems like as hard a journey as like, it seemed like a fucking treacherous pathway. I didn't realize, I don't know if this is all girls or if it's just them, but like the way they think about their bodies and the way they think about life and stuff is, it was tiresome. Like, and I'm not saying this like in a negative way. Like I was like empathizing, because as a guy who kind of struggles with, when I was growing up, struggled with self-image a little bit. Like, I was a stick figure up until maybe second year university. And I have many moments where I felt like self-conscious. I don't know if you're watching on the video, but if you're looking on the video, I have a small indent in my chest. Try to get close to the camera here. It's tough to see because I have built out my chest muscles, but I have a small indent in my chest there. Tried to show it on the video. And when I was growing up, when you were really, really skinny, like, I mean, like bones, and you had that chest indent, and you're tall, and you have like goofy hair, I felt about as ugly and bad as it comes. But because I was a guy, and my mentality was like, every guy's ugly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at that age, you didn't really look around and see like hot TikTok boys and shit, because there just wasn't that. You looked around and you saw a bunch of scrubby preteen fuglies like yourself. And like, also as a guy, you had so many outlets. Like, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm a twig, like weird, goofy looking guy, but like I'm sick at sports, or I'm good at school, and like I'm just gonna do whatever. Like, you don't really, and like I had just as many experiences, like, because they were talking about like their horror stories of when people like made comments on their body growing up, and how it created like long lasting kind of self-hatred and bad talk. And I was thinking back to, because obviously I have those memories too, when a girl laughs at you or calls you something, or a guy fucking whatever, like you get, I don't know, pantsed at camp, or like, that didn't happen to me. I don't know why I say it, but I have examples of times growing up where people make comments about my body, like, and you can remember them. Like, I remember fucking some kid at Trevor. I remember you, dude. It's funny because he's one of my buddies, and his brother, Trevor Robinson, and his brother Luke Robinson, I see a lot now because Mads and Luke, or I think they call Robinson Kirby now. They changed it up. Robinson Kirby's like friends of ours in music that I want to have on the podcast. But his brother, I'm pretty sure it was his brother, like told me I had like freako, like duck looking feet because they're so flat, and like I have like no arch, and like they're long. Anyway, I had all these moments too growing up. But in like, it took a little bit of like being a hoe and getting female attention, a little bit of soul searching, hitting the gym, and a regular amount of mental work. And I'm like my insecurities are almost nothing to me. It wasn't traumatic. I never felt victimized or targeted, or like I never felt like I was cursed because I had X or Y growing up. I always felt like everything was overcomable and whatever, and someone would say something and you'd forget about it because it just, I guess, I don't know, I think guys or boys pre-TikTok, I'll say pre-internet, because I don't know what it's like now, they just didn't have that beauty pressure and that looks pressure. It was nice to be attractive, but like, if it didn't matter if you could land a kickflip, you were like the coolest kid. If you like smoked weed in grade 8, like no one was like, look how like hot that kid is. They're like, oh, he's got an older brother and he smokes weed. Like, I want to give him a blowy. Like that was more like the narrative. So, but I was listening to their recounts and they weren't saying it like I'm saying it now. They were like, this person said this, and like I went home and I cried for 2 days. And I've thought about it a lot since. And like it really, like through high school, I would do like X or Y. Like these aren't exact quotes. I'm paraphrasing. And then like her co-host would be like, I'm so sorry. Like that's terrible. Like this big traumatic experience. And I don't know. It was just eye opening. I definitely empathized a lot more. Because Kristen, like to me, because we've been friends for a long time, she's always been super confident and super like, I love my body, hot, cool, fun. And like, cause I've been the same. That's why we're friends. I'm like, I'm hot too. I work out. Like I'm like super confident now. I've always been super confident, but like I'm like not as, before it was kind of defense mechanism. Now I kind of believe it. And I think it was a defense mechanism for her too. And she's only recently, her and Akos have only recently like learned to like love their bodies. But like they talk about like the stress around eating and around like just hating themselves for like having a cupcake and stuff. And I really think it's like for girls at that time, maybe, and this is again, just a guess, you didn't feel like you like beauty was one of the things that you really got like when you're young. It's like your moms would dress you up and everyone would talk about how cute you are as a girl, young girl, and like boys would, as a boy growing up, it was always like, oh, like Cindy's so hot. It was never like, oh, like Cindy's sick at softball, so I can see how beauty is like it's really tough to get a grip on at that young an age. And then they would tell stories about like gym teachers or parents or personal trainers like saying shit to them, and it like traumatized them. And it could be a benefit of like the masculinization of girls. Like at least I see on TikTok, like girls are being more masculine and men are being more feminine. Just like from observation, like the guys on TikTok are like, they're so soft. And I'm not saying, again, not in a bad way, but they're like pouting and like licking their lips. Like I feel like I could fucking just absolutely like, there might be more testosterone in my leg hair than these kids. But again, it's probably, who knows if it's helping these young boys. They're already so confused. But maybe that's like helping girls like have the male mentality, which is like, I don't know, as a guy, I just never looked at things that way. Like everything was not so traumatic. Like I just noticed that girls were really sensitive to stuff. And I'm not saying guys aren't sensitive. It's just we're a little bit more muted when it comes to stuff like that. And, if someone says something bad about you, you can like punch a wall, or you have like outlets and stuff. And, maybe like the masculinization, girls playing sports and like having these outlets, they can be like, oh, you think I'm ugly? Like whatever, I'm a sick like painter, or I'm sick at soccer or whatever. Like the same shit that I just turned to. I was like, oh, like whatever. I used to be self-conscious with the my feet or whatever, but I'd be like, whatever. I'd go score a goal in hockey and like Bob's your uncle, you know? Anyway, I went on that tangent because I was feeling like extra, like I'm a man, whatever, while listening to this very feminine podcast, and then contemplating manhood, and then wondering why I felt the way I did, and if feeling the way I did was bad. I was like, why am I, like, I'm feeling super manly right now, like I want to fucking like lift a compact car off a kitten. And I was like, because I was also hauling like my dirt bike up north, just got it fixed up, and it's like my like Place Beyond the Pines dirt bike. It's road legal, so like you can shred it around the cottage roads and stuff. And going up to play some golf and like paddleboard and like rip the jet ski, and like I'm like fired up, and I am not thinking about emotions or my ex or like. And I'm just like, I could fucking do whatever I want. I just want to lift weights. Like, where can I work out up there? Like, I'm going to go for a run in a paddleboard. And I was like, where is this coming from? I haven't really felt this in a long time. And so I started like Googling it a little bit and looking into it. And I started to see some shit on testosterone and on vitamin D. And on like how vitamin D apparently is like a very important tool in like testosterone and like I don't know if it's reception or whatever in the body. And then I listened to a testosterone expert on Joe Rogan, which was also hilarious because she's a woman, and the episode was like extremely like let's just say like she cried maybe 10 times on the episode and Joe cried maybe 2 or 3 times. And I cried listening to it. I don't know why. I cried when I cried literally when Joe Rogan was explaining the beauty of fighting, and he and her got emotional because he was explaining this one girl fighter, and he was explaining her victory, like her speech after the victory, and like this was after he just explained how hard fighters have to work to get there and like how meaningful the fight is, and then he played like her clip, and she said something like, oh, we all just need to be better people. And I'm not doing it justice, but like hearing her voice, like after just winning, and hearing her, he also played her like walk up where she was just like saying like, I'm the best. And she's like this petite, like really pretty girl. And she just fucks this other girl up in the cage. And like just the power of her mentality and like the positivity, I was just in that right place too. And like they were both crying and I cried. But this girl, it's funny because like they were talking about testosterone and manliness, and it was really cool to realize like how much of like your vitality and like this exactly what I'm feeling has to do with hormones. And it's not just discipline and mental talk, although that's a big bit of it. But she was saying like, she was talking like testosterone is a huge part of our competitiveness, our sex drive, our like that zest for life, that mojo. And I started doing, because I started feeling it on Friday, and I was like, why do I feel this so much on Friday? And like it sparked back in at that music video. And on Friday, I just was like, I'm done smoking darts. Like I'm doing too much of it. Like I want to start working out again. We just built a home gym, and I've been lifting some weights, and I just been starting to get back in the swing of things. And I've been getting a lot of sun. Like I've been burnt a lot, but I mean, now I'm tanned. I've been getting a lot of sun. I've been getting a lot of vitamins, because I've been working out. I take my protein shakes, and they're like these Vega protein shakes that are like super vitamin rich. And this is all over the last 2 weeks. So like the music video sparked something in me, and I was like, dude, be a better version of yourself. And I started like working out and just having that mental feeling again. And then I was like, oh, I'm done smoking, and I'm starting to feel whatever. And that was Friday. Didn't have any nicotine or whatever Friday. And I started looking to it, and I read like a few, again, don't quote me on this because I got to go into it deeper, but they were saying that like e-cigarette oil or that vapor reduces testosterone by like 30 to 50%. And so that's like one thing. And I was like, whoa, like that's a lot. And also, I don't know if it's the same Joe Rogan episode or a couple others. They were talking about how testosterone's already low in men now, and especially these younger men, because of chemicals in the plastics and the stuff we use. There's specific chemicals that are suppressing testosterone levels, that are causing like fertility issues in women, causing like massive testosterone declines. And like, I'm starting to wonder if like that's why I'm seeing such like a feminization of these young men, if it's not just culture. Also they were talking about how, you know, with my research and like whatever, about how, you know, working out core muscle groups, big muscle groups, is like a major indicator to your body to release testosterone. And just doing the little bit of it, getting sun, stopping smoking. I didn't Google whether smoking cigarettes suppresses testosterone, but I mean, it can't fucking help, because it affects other things like sleep and your stress levels. And I know that all suppresses testosterone, but just like stopping with everything, and like that reinvigoration of that positive voice that I haven't heard in a long time. I just like, I think my testosterone levels are up. Like I might send a DM to your to your mother, you know, like hopefully she's not on Instagram. I'm feeling like that. I'm feeling that, you know? But it's like something I kind of want to look into a little bit more, is maybe, you know, maybe when I'm feeling this and that I don't get so down on myself that it's a mentality issue or whatever, but it could just be like diet, sleep, exercise. Another really important reason why discipline can really be a life raft when you're feeling bad is because if you can stick to some of those things when you're feeling bad, you know, maybe it can help regulate it. I wanted to loop around to that because, and I'll wrap it up and I'll finish it off with a few things, instead of just talking about, because I'm not an expert. Again, like if you want to do what I do, man, like their name was Carol Hooven on Joe Rogan. Go listen to that episode. Go cry if you feel like it. And then listen to, I mean, he just did one today with David Sinclair, who's an anti-aging specialist, talking about all these little things we can do to actually reverse aging. And they touch on testosterone, and I forget the woman he talked to on the reduction of testosterone and whatever because of plastics. I forget that one, but man, go listen to him, do some Googling, and like maybe take a peek onto your lifestyle and how, you know, it could be like you could be putting the chicken in front of the egg or vice versa when it comes to your mood. If you're not feeling like that zest or that kind of kill mentality, if you're a guy, like I honestly don't know what the equivalent for a girl is, you know, and maybe I'll talk to Kristen and she can talk about it on hers, but like if you're a guy, like don't disregard the effect that if you're sitting around on the couch, if you're not working out, if you're ripping Juul, you're not getting a lot of sunlight, you're not like XYZ, you may be like hormonally suppressed. You may be feeling just, you know, and you know, if you like it, great, and if it's going well for you, who cares? But it's something to consider, making some health choices, not just to have abs or to attract women, but to get a little bit of that you know, joie de vivre back. You know, it's not all that. I think a big part is that I've spent years of my life since my concussions at 22, when I had my first kind of real revelations of what mentality is and what hardship is, and where I started to learn perspective and how to step outside my emotions and my feelings. So for the last 6 years, I've been on a self-help mission. I've been, you know, reading the books, focusing on mentality, listening to podcasts. It's a passion of mine. I started a podcast with Robbie about this topic. It's a passion of mine. So I have and I had pre-COVID, a really developed mentality and like a really strong positivity and like great self-talk and visualizations and all this shit. So I don't think it's like one of those things where I just got a little bit of vitamin D, and if you get your testosterone up, you can expect to maybe have the same results as I do. But it may be a great place to start. But I was more just excited that this person hadn't died. I thought this person inside me died in COVID. I thought my habits were so poor and they went on for so long that I forgot all this stuff. But no, he just was dormant. He was hibernating. And again, another Joe Rogan episode. Oh, fuck, I forget this guy's name. I'll try to dig it up for the next epi, because there's a few things that I'm not going to be able to talk about in this episode that I'll bring into the next one. Where he talked about, he's a family psychologist, and I have talked about this on a previous episode, so if you listen to them all, you probably remember this. But he was a family therapist or psychologist, whatever. It's confusing. And he talked about how he treats patients, and his belief is that there's lots of personalities inside your head, and that you actually are a multitude of personalities. And he treats these personalities like people, and he tries to have conversations with them. And his most effective, and I forget if it was meditative, like hypnotic, if how he would have these conversations. But essentially, his theory was that, these demons, these insecurities, your body dysmorphias, your fears, your fear of failure, whatever, they all come from these kind of fractions of yourselves. And most people like myself used to believe that you suppress that with positive chatter, and you use willpower to fire through it, and you use action to overcome it. And over time, you'll believe something different. And, that may work, and it definitely has its merits. But this guy believes that instead of suppressing that person, if you can converse with it, give it an identity, and convince it to kind of release its beliefs, or to trust you that you're not going to get hurt again, or you're not going to get your pants pulled down in front of camp, or you're not skinny anymore, or you're a fucking man, and that you have your best interests, and that stuff's not going to happen. And this was just the example he gave, that you can actually use the best parts of that personality, because that personality may also be the same person that's the perfectionist in you, or that is the person that's saying, like, to work a little bit harder because maybe you're not good enough, and like in a positive way. Do you know what I mean? So I have this whole history, and I have all these things floating around in my head from having an interest in it. So when this personality came back, when I say stuff, like I talked to it, like I sat down this morning and I meditated, and I tried to find, and it's kind of woo-woo and hoo-hoo, and I'm not like a very spiritual guy anymore, but I like trying things, and I tried to find the personality that was like dominating me in COVID. And I got so meditative and deep in internal reflection that I saw two people. And it's funny that, like, I tried to do what this guy said. I tried to ask where it is in the body, and like, no joke, inside my own head, I heard like here. And it was like in my low left rib, and it's underneath a fucking pain that I get sometimes in my abdomen, right underneath my low left rib. I have like a muscular pain sometimes. And he said this in the podcast. He's like, sometimes you'll notice like, anyway, crazy stuff. And then I was like, what's your name? And like, whatever. And like, I didn't really get a name. I was like, okay, maybe that's some weird stuff that I don't really do. But then like, he was like, oh, it's John. I was like, that's hilarious. That's my band name. Like, maybe I'm just like associating. And then, I tried to like locate the voice that's like back, like that, like fucking this positive, I'm a killer, like whatever. And like a fucking voice inside me, like a deep voice was like, I'm here. And it like came right out of my throat. But it didn't seem like it was like located in my throat. It seemed like it was just something bigger than me that was so big that it's like mouth was in my throat, but it's like face was bigger than my face, and it's like body was bigger than my body. And like, that's how meditative I got this morning. Like, I just did a Wim Hof breathing exercise this morning. So I was like already like buzzing on oxygen. And I sat down and I meditated, and I tried this whack shit. And so I'm deep in this meditation, and he's like, I'm here. And he's like, I'm John. And I realized that, like, they're all me, right? So like, these two personalities are the same things. Like, when I'm on stage and I'm playing as John Famos, I really do access this person. Like, I'm on stage and I'm entertaining, and I say it all the time. Like, I feel like I have electricity coming out of my fingers. I feel like I'm magic when I perform, when I am at shows. And I think the audience does too, because people say it. I don't think I'm making it up. And I feel this like deep connection, and it's like this magic, like this root of like spirituality. And I don't like, it's like when I feel the best. And I also get it a little bit like I said, when I'm riding dirt bikes, when I'm really like doing like living shit, and adrenaline-y stuff. And like, I don't know, I just had this chat this morning, and I realized that like that little scared in my rib pain, call him Lil John, you know, was like the scared, weak, kind of brittle, stick figure, like self-conscious young man that I just suppressed all my life with confidence and with, you know, like all the other work. And instead of going away and dying, it was there the whole time. Just like I thought the voice in my head that is a dominant positive voice died in COVID, it was there the whole time. And when you suppress it, like, given the biggest moment of weakness in COVID, where I had like a bit of a mental health crisis, those demons will take over again. And I used to say that like I kind of like demons, because you can put a cage on them and they drive you. You know, if you feel you're inadequate, it drives you. If you feel if you have body dysmorphia, like I said, I feel like I'm eternally super skinny because of how I grew up and everything I was told growing up. I can never shake that feeling of body dysmorphia. So it's like, I used to say I like that though, because that's why I work out. It's what motivates me. I always look in the mirror and I see a skinny guy, and I work hard and I work out. I always have that mental voice that's like, you're not good enough. Like, you're supposed to be, you know, great. And I mean, who's supposed to be great? Like, there's no big purpose to being a great or like successful. Like, the most happy people are just ones with good families and can take care of their needs. But I have a voice inside me that I like to put a harness on that pushes me, because it means, you know, I can achieve something really cool. That's a dream of mine. And I used to say, like, I like to put cages on these demons because they kind of like, they drag you and they pull you. But it was an interesting thought, because what this guy said is, instead of, you know, suppressing them or putting cages on them, like, you can get all those benefits that they give you without the negative if you can work through those feelings. And I don't know. I'll try it again, see how it goes, but for the most part, I feel my mojo's back, my positivity's back. Like, may start cage fighting. I don't know. Joe Rogan made it sound incredible. If it wasn't for my previous head injuries, which I don't know, man. If it's been a long time, and I've been doing a lot of healing and a lot of rehab on my neck. If I can, anyway, maybe I'll just like take it up recreationally. That's like kind of back, but I gotta credit discipline for getting me through. I gotta credit Rob for bringing me to a place to feel fucking alive again. And the team that's surrounding like our band now, like the other bandmates and the video and like all these people that we're working with, and you know, our roommate Kevin and Robbie's girlfriend Liv, that are contributing and helping us get there, and all these people that, you know, that do give me this feedback, that are listening, even the few hundred people. And I wrote down a long list of people, and I was thinking about doing like a shout out, because I know it's great to hear your name on a podcast, but I just didn't want to forget anybody, and I do that shit. Would I forget people? Like because there has been over time a lot of people that have reached out and said nice things, so I don't really want to try to limit it to maybe I'll keep writing the list, and if after a couple days I can't think of anyone else, I'll say it on one of the pods. But I appreciate it because as I said, that little bump just gave more strength to that inner voice and maybe push a little step further. And I'm doing a lot more on top of my discipline, a lot more balanced self-talk, confidence, like manifestation, not in like the way of The Secret, like the book where it's like manifest and like wish and give it to you, but manifestation in the fact that like my self-talk, my talk out to the universe. And like, if you're listening to this, you can probably feel it a little bit too, a little shift. Like it may not feel the same as like my last year of content, because I truly feel it, and I didn't need to like lie about it and like manifest until I believed it. I believe it again. So I'm spitting it out, but I really want to focus on nurturing this part of me, and because I don't want to lose it again. And I think that meditation, that self-talk, trying to locate it and kind of paying attention to my hormones and health, because there is nothing better than partying. There's nothing better than ciggies and patios and being destructive when it's in celebration. And I don't think I can ever give that shit up. But I don't want to do it out of anxiety. I don't like doing it out of escape. I don't like doing it as a soother. I want to like get that record deal and go out and die from partying. You know, I want to like hit new pinnacles and then take the lads on a fucking yacht and like celebrate and be and be destructive in the best way, because life's worth living. But I don't want to see myself get back to kind of how it was in COVID. So that's the update. Check the banner out. Let me see if there's anything on my list before I sign off. No. Just want to put out like extreme appreciation. If you like the podcast, check out our music when it comes out. It's very soon. We're in the final touches. You'll see the music video that changed my mentality. These songs are sick. We're a real band. Our next steps are looking for either management or new opportunities to play shows when they open up for bigger bands. But like we're hitting the next plateau. And if you're a fan of either the podcast or the music, please, for the love of God, tell people. Like, please. It's been a long road, and I'm going to do everything I can to try to blow up on TikTok or get our music out there by paying for ads or doing the podcast. But if it's easy and you don't feel uncomfortable doing it, please, when we put this shit out there, tell a few friends. If you like it, obviously if you don't like it, maybe even tell us that, because that might be more helpful. But if you like us, you'll like it. And that's this episode. Feel the fucking power of the universe coursing through you, because you're alive and you're lucky, and life's a simulation, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. Go get some vitamin D. Go give some D. If your girl gets some D. Feel that testosterone. Fucking let's go. Thanks. It's almost Famos. It's a rock star figuring it out. Let's go. See you later.